to the Prophecy Club. Today I'm going to be talking about my brand new DVD called Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit. I have 10,000 scientists from 100 countries recreated an Egyptian Stargate or wormhole. Was the idea for movies such as Contact, Hellboy, and Stargate SG-1 birthed from their plan to build a modern Stargate? Is their stated goal to recreate the Big Bang really a cover story for something more sinister? Will the 17-mile circular Large Hadron Collider built 574 feet underneath Switzerland and France really open a door to another world? What will happen in 2014 when they turn the power up to 100%? Well, I talk about this and a whole lot more. Let's go listen to me talk briefly about Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit. How did I get started in this? Because this is a very unusual topic for a prophecy teacher to have stumbled on. I was doing another talk and I had been researching 666 that is hidden in several logos. And I had stumbled across a logo called CERN. And it had a 666 in it, and I'd put that into a DVD that I had made over a year ago. And then I was listening to a couple of guys talk on a CD that somebody sent me, and they mentioned CERN, and my ears perked up. And then they said something about it's in Switzerland, and it's a Large Hadron Collider, and it was just something in passing, no more than a few words. But all of a sudden, my interest was piqued because I thought, whoa, wait a minute, I know a little bit about this CERN here, and now they're saying something else more evil is there, so I thought I better check it out. Now, grab your seatbelt and buckle it tight because I'm about to blow your lid off with some of the things I'm about to tell you. We, brothers and sisters, are in the last of the last days. Now listen to this. This 17-mile tunnel is 574 feet below ground. It's completed. 33 countries combined their finances, spending $10 billion. That's a 10 with 10 zeros after it, okay? 33 countries. They used 10,000 scientists from 100 countries, and it's approximately 50% of all particle beam physicians in the world have all worked together. 608 universities, 113 nationalities. It uses 1,600 superconducting magnets. It has 8 sectors that operate at 1.9 degrees above absolute zero. In other words, this is a technological miracle. Why? Why spend $10 billion to make this big, round, underground tunnel? Why do it? Well, this is what they tell us. They want to create a clockwise and a counterclockwise circulating beam, a particle beam. In other words, they're going to get one beam going at just under light speed in a circle, and then they get another beam going the exact opposite direction, again at just under light speed, and then they cause a collision. Why? Because they want to create the God moment. It is called a Higgs boson event. They believe that this is the moment that creation happened. And this thing that does it is called a Large Hadron Collider. That's LHC. Now, the interesting part of that is LHC in Hebrew means gate. A gate to what? Or a gate to where? So far, they've turned the power up about 50%, and they've been very disappointed with what has happened. Now, some scientists fear, because they don't really know what they're doing here. They don't really know the end game. They don't know what it's going to do. They don't know the dangers of it. Some scientists fear that it could easily open a wormhole or create a black hole and destroy this entire planet. Now, I got a question for you. This is a rhetorical question. I mean, you folks out there in Radio Lane, you just think through this. Have 10,000 scientists from 100 countries recreated an ancient Egyptian Stargate or wormhole? Was the idea for movies such as Contact, Hellboy, Stargate actually birthed from their plans to build a modern-day Stargate? Is their stated goal to recreate the Big Bang really a cover story for something more sinister? Could it cause earthquakes in divers places, as the Bible prophesies, and distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, and men's hearts failing them for the fear, for looking after those things that are coming upon the earth? And could it cause what the Bible says will happen? Every island to flee away. Scientists have built this massive collider at CERN, CERN. But you see, CERN is not a word. What is it? Could it be that CERN, CERN, is actually short for CERNunnos, an occultic half-man, half-beast, which arises out of the earth? Will CERNunnos arise from the Hadron Collider in 2014 when they turn the power up to 100%? Will it open a gate to allow the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit, or the Antichrist, as the Christians call him, to enter this world? And will he be what the Muslims call the Islamic Mahdi, or the 12th Imam? Will it allow the beast that shall ascend out of the bottomless pit to enter this world? Will it also be what allows the locusts to enter this world that sting men for 5 months like scorpions? Is the tribulation upon us? Is it about to start? That's just the start of it. Okay, let's go into a little bit more of the background now that we've given a brief overview of where we're really going. The super collider idea actually started in Waxahachie, Texas. They actually started building a super collider that was going to be about 3 times bigger and 3 times more powerful than the one that is currently built and is functioning underneath France and Switzerland. Now, what it does is they get this plasma particle rotating about 11,000 rotations a second. That's 17-mile circle, 11,000 times a second, and then they collide this. In other words, these two particles jam together. Now, they spent $10 billion, and of course, in the presentation, I have pictures. I can show you what the underground collider looks like. I show you what their drawings are, how they have these massive pipe constructions and all of these super magnets. And I mean, we're talking about really a technological miracle. And they built it underneath, 575 feet below the surface. And what they're trying to do is to make these things slam into each other so that they can look at this God moment. Now, of course, in the presentation, I have a lot of pictures, and I'm able to show you, okay, they start with the plasma particle in this smaller ring, and they get it bigger, and they get it bigger, and then they run it out to a medium-sized ring, and they run it out to a very large ring. And I explained to them exactly what happens, and this proton does a 17-mile lap at near the speed of light. They guide it by powerful magnets. It zooms through a narrow circular tunnel. Then a tiny adjustment in the magnetic field throws the proton into the path of another particle beam, and then everything goes boom, okay? This happens about 10 million times a second inside this detector. Now, you got to ask yourself a question, though. Why would 33 countries, 10,000 scientists spend $10 billion just to slam particles into each other? It just doesn't make sense. Let's continue on. They went on to explain hadrons, and that's what they're trying to find. Hadrons are a class of subatomic particles that include protons and neutrons. When they collide, they explode into dozens of other particles. The goal is to find one subatomic particle called the Higgs boson, the most elusive speck of matter in the universe, often called the God particle. It's supposed to be the key to explaining why matter has mass. The Higgs boson theoretically has to be there, scientists say. Otherwise, the standard model of the universe collapses. And then, now get this. Now, I believe that the internet is a future version of it, a more advanced version of it, will be what is tied together to be able to track and to monitor every purchase on earth to fulfill Revelation 13:15, so that no one can buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast. Now, listen to this. to process all of this massive amounts of data, scientists are building a worldwide meta network of PCs. In other words, you might call it the Internet 2, organized into large clusters and linked by ultra-high-speed connectors into a global virtual computing service, and it's called the LHC computing grid. Remember, LHC means gate. And it could mark the evolution of the Internet from a pervasive communications network into a powerful global computation network. Now, tie some of this together. I recently interviewed Maurice Sklar. At the age of 4, he began playing the violin. He won numerous awards from the age of 9. And in 1985, God began to show him visions of the last days. He was kind of like David. He was a psalmist. Now, I'm just going to choose just a couple of paragraphs out of his many visions for the last days. I believe he is explaining the Internet 2. He said, "Then the Lord said to me," okay, now this is not just a dream. This is a vision. The Lord is speaking to him audibly. He says, "This is what is shortly to take place. There's an electronic web that will encircle the earth like this. It will unite the whole world under the Antichrist system of the end-time Babylon." Now, when you see Babylon, most cases in prophecy, it's referring to America. The Internet started here in America. At first, it will bring great blessings and prosperity. It will seem like everyone is coming together and a new age is dawning for mankind. The hexagons, which is part of this net that he saw covering the earth, from each nation began to grow dark and became opaque. It looked like black smoke rose up, and one after another, each hexagon began to go smoky gray, then black. In other words, he's seeing that the Internet turns from being a good thing to a very, very bad thing. After a few seconds, I could no longer see Europe at all. Then this began to spread rapidly across into Asia, Africa, Australia, China, America, all completely blotted out. I could only see the oceans, then the islands and the seas. All became black. Finally, the entire earth was in darkness. Even the blue oceans disappeared. I felt such evil and hopelessness. I heard the cries of millions of souls on the earth that were trapped in darkness. And by what? By the Internet. Now, let me finish this. He said, "This is the fullness of the tree of knowledge of good and evil." And by the way, many times people wonder, well, how do you know that's from God? I'll tell you what, here's one of the things that tells me this is from God. You see, when it has an intelligence in it. We'll be right back after this message. If you would like to find out more about our vision to find oil in Israel, call 877-645-4772. That's 877-OIL-ISRAEL or 877-645-4772. That's 877-OIL-ISRAEL or 877-645-4772. There's no obligation. They'll send you out a free packet explaining our vision. I invite you to order my brand new DVD, Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit. Have 10,000 scientists from 100 countries recreated an Egyptian Stargate or wormhole? Was the idea for movies such as Contact, Hellboy, and Stargate SG-1 birthed from their plan to build a modern Stargate? Is their stated goal to recreate the Big Bang, the moment of creation, really a cover story for something more sinister? Will the 17-mile circular Large Hadron Collider, built 574 feet underneath Switzerland and France, open a door to another world? Some scientists fear it could easily open a wormhole or create a black hole and destroy this planet. Is it what fulfills the prophecy that the beast shall ascend out of the bottomless pit? Call 785-266-1112 and order Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit, or go to prophecyclub.com. And now, back to the program. You see, when it has an intelligence in it that is above human intelligence, you know that's God. You see, this next phrase I'm about to read, typical human wouldn't know to understand, wouldn't have a global input like this. But listen to what's said. This is what Adam chose for all of mankind in the Garden of Eden instead of union in life with me. They could have eaten from the tree of life instead, and this never would have happened. And that's only part of it. Now, this is all going to be linked together with an internet, all seeking after this Higgs boson event. When you philosophically oppose an entire power elite, you cannot help but sound like a conspiracy theorist. Social power is by nature a conspiracy. A fellow by the name of Tom said that. Now, what are the dangers? According to physicist Professor Irina, and I can't even say the last name, and Dr. Igor Volovich, the LCH can easily open wormholes. Some fear that these mad scientists will accidentally create a black hole that could devour the Earth. What are the other dangers? A few other things that didn't seem possible once: the theory of continental drift, the fact that rocks fall from the sky, the notion that the Earth revolves around the sun, and the idea that scientists could be horribly wrong. We're also wondering how often the LHC might create individual black holes, since longer-lived ones have a greater chance of merging with each other and, well, see ya. In other words, this thing could be really, really dangerous, and the scientists don't even know. What if the worst comes to pass? What if there's now a slightly greater chance that it might explain why we've never heard from extraterrestrial civilizations, as some people believe? I don't agree with that. Maybe they built the Large Hadron Colliders of their own. In other words, maybe this thing is designed to hook up with other worlds. And I have a fellow from England here, and I quote a few things from him that he tells about how he thinks it's going to be very, very dangerous. Now, this particular article here is saying that it's been an utter failure so far. Well, maybe it's been a failure as far as finding the Higgs boson. Maybe it's been a failure as far as creating the God moment or the God particle. But maybe, just maybe, it's going to be a success at what they really are building it for. Could it open the bottomless pit, loosing the beast? And by the way, are demons bound? Can demons be bound? Well, let me read a couple of scriptures. Revelation 9:14, saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. I'll give you another example. Revelation 22, he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Then, of course, we know the next verse says, then he will be loosed for a little season. So we do know that the Bible teaches that angels or demons can be bound and then they can be loosed. Could it be that this 17-mile, 574-foot below ground circle is actually built and designed to loose demons into this world? If you'd like to have a copy of Stargate, Wormholes, and Bottomless Pit, you would go to prophecyclub.com. prophecy.com. prophecyclub.com. Let's go back to Revelation 11:3, and we're talking about the bottomless pit. In other words, the question here is, what if this 17-mile, $10 billion experiment is not to just make the God particle or the Big Bang? What if it's really designed to be a Stargate or a black hole or a wormhole or something that can open up a spiritual door to another world? Now, let's look at what the Bible says. Does the Bible give us any kind of a hint? Revelation 11:3. And I will give power unto my two witnesses. They'll prophesy 1,203 days. That's 3.5 years. That's the last 3.5 years of the tribulation, skipping several verses. Now let's go down to verse 7. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. Did you hear what I just said? It says, the Bible says, that these two witnesses are going to prophesy for 3.5 years, and the way they die is from the guy that comes out of the bottomless pit. Now, what comes out of the bottomless pit? What is in the bottomless pit? And the answer is departed souls. Okay, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit kills the two witnesses. That's not a joke, okay? Now, how is the bottomless pit opened up? Revelation 9:1 says that the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Now, I had always thought that the angel opens up a giant crack in the earth, and that may very well be. Maybe this big circle over in France and Switzerland will have nothing to do with opening up a crack in the surface of the earth. Or maybe that's exactly how it is opened. You see, it can possibly, the scientists at least fear, that it may create a black hole or create a wormhole or actually be a Stargate. Now, let me go back. It says the fifth angel was given a key. He opened the bottomless pit, and what comes out of the bottomless pit? It says, out of the smoke came locusts of the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Now, what does that mean? It goes on to say that they sting men like scorpions, all of the ones that do not have the seal of God on their foreheads, and they sting them for 5 months. What if the way the bottomless pit is opened up is not by the angel opening up the surface of the earth, and that may very well be it. But what if it's really the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, whose initials in Hebrew mean gate? What if this angel actually allows mankind to open the bottomless pit? What if that is the way the bottomless pit is opened? Revelation 9:1 says, the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and it was given him a key to open the bottomless pit. Could this be the key? Could this be the way the locusts enter in to begin stinging men all over? Revelation 9:6 goes on to say, and in those days shall men seek death. In other words, they want to die. They seek death and shall not find it. They desire to die, and death shall flee from them. The shapes of the locusts were likened unto horses prepared unto battle. On their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of woman, teeth as the teeth of lions. What if at CERN, which may be short for CERNunnos, we'll get into that more in just a moment, which is a half man, half demon, what if they named it for exactly what they plan to do? What if this is a Stargate, except for it's not a gate to stars, it's a gate to demons? They might not even know, but maybe, just maybe, they do know. Yeah, that's right. Maybe they do know. Now, let me tie this together with what might come out of that gate. The 12th Imam, or the Mahdi, as the Muslims call it, has a name. It is a person, a real flesh and blood person called Muhammad ibn Hassan ibn Ali, born in Iraq in 868, chosen by Allah to lead the world. At age 6, it is believed that he fell into a well, and that he will arise from that well to be the 12th Imam, or the Mahdi. Now, when will he arise? Well, it even prophesies that. It says, when the last pages of history are being written in blood and fire. Wow, that sounds like we're almost on it now. It goes on to say, in a time of chaos, carnage, and confusion, and a time when infidels, especially Christians and Jews, must be converted or destroyed. Wow. And they go on to give a definition I heard the other day. A radical Muslim is someone that thinks that infidels must be killed now. Moderate means that all infidels must be killed when the Mahdi appears. In other words, if you're radical, they think we ought to be killed now. If the Muslim is moderate, well, we'll give them a little time, but we still ought to kill them all. He will arise from the well, possibly. You see, he fell in a rock. He might arise back from a rock, but what if he doesn't? What if he comes out of this collider? Says he's going to conquer Jerusalem. He returns in great power and glory. In hellfire, the Mahdi will return when Jesus returns, and the Imams have some predictions for this guy. They say that he will appear suddenly near the end of Mecca. He will be descended from Muhammad. He will stutter. He will shine like an Israelite, unite and reform the Muslims. He'll have a mole on his left or right cheek. His eyebrows will mix. Now let's head on to another topic. Could it be that the idea for this collider is not exactly a new idea at all? What if ancient Egyptians, probably talking to fallen angels? We'll continue this in the next broadcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers and your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. I invite you to order my brand new DVD, Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit. Have 10,000 scientists from 100 countries recreated an Egyptian Stargate or wormhole? Was the idea for movies such as Contact, Hellboy, and Stargate SG-1 birthed from their plan to build a modern Stargate? Is their stated goal to recreate the Big Bang, the moment of creation, really a cover story for something more sinister? Will the 17-mile circular Large Hadron Collider, built 574 feet underneath Switzerland and France, open a door to another world? Some scientists fear it could easily open a wormhole or create a black hole and destroy this planet. Is it what fulfills the prophecy that the beast shall ascend out of the bottomless pit? Call 785-266-1112 and order Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit, or go to prophecyclub.com. Karen Anderson spent 10 hours a day for 10 years, 5 hours a day for 20 years, learning the secrets of Revelation from an astronomical point of view. None of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand, says the Bible. She says the book of Revelation is a call for the tribes of Israel to return by explaining the story of the Son of Man coming from one end of heaven to the other. By understanding Jesus' role in the heaven, it helps us fulfill our role on the earth. Many men have tried to read this message, but it is hidden until the appropriate time. The stars are a second witness to the Bible, designed to be understood now. A letter from God to us to prove Jesus is the Messiah. Explaining this story called The Word of God and Jesus is the Word. Topics are the purpose of the earth, Bullinger's Witness of the Stars and Clarence Larkin, the wedding feast, the offerings of the temple and the man, the sickles of Revelation 14:14, the Great Seal and its secret purpose, the Great Pyramid and its role in early Christianity. 5 DVDs, almost 10 hours, valued at $150, all for a gift of just $50 or more. It's the astronomical Book of Revelation. Call 785-266-1112. 5 DVDs, 10 hours, astronomical Book of Revelation. Gift of $50 or more, 785-266-1112. As prophecy students, we know an emergency is heading our way, and the average person can go over 30 days without food, but no more than 3 days without clean water. In the event of an emergency, you must have clean water almost immediately. One of the primary causes of death in emergencies is not lack of food, but rather drinking contaminated water. You can run water from a mud puddle through a Berkey and drink it. You can have clean water when others are getting sick from drinking bug-infested water. Your filter must work without pressurized water or electricity, which is why the missionaries choose Berkey. You can get a Go Berkey for $139, but I recommend you get the Royal Berkey with 4 filters for $364. I personally use the Crown with 8 filters for all my daily water needs. A Royal Berkey looks like a large stainless steel coffee pot, 9 inches wide by 20 inches tall, with 4 black filters. It processes over a gallon an hour for a gift of $364. Call 785-266-1112. Ask for the Royal Berkey, 785-266-1112, or the Crown Berkey with 8 filters. Or see the entire line of Berkeys by going to prophecyclub.com.